Okay, we are going to get started. Welcome to the Linxup Whip Around webinar. Hello to everybody. Hope you're having a great Wednesday. Thank you for joining us. Today we are going to be covering how our two great solutions really come together to help you improve your fleet management. Before we get started, I want to request that everybody please stay on mute. And if you have any questions, please be sure to put them in the question field. We will be monitoring it and answering all questions at the end of the webinar. To get started, I want to introduce our speakers here. We have Mary Freelove from Whip Around and John McCammon from Linxup.
Hey, everybody.
Just to cover what we'll be learning today, John and Mary will be going over the key benefits of utilizing Whip Around and Linxup that include streamlining your maintenance process, using data to make those highly informed decisions, increasing your efficiency and reducing costs overall, and just greatly increasing your visibility of your entire fleet and your assets. Just to go over, Whip Around and Linxup became partners in 2021 after seeing how we greatly complement each other and can help our mutual customer base. As you can see, utilizing Linxup's mileage tracking, locations, and DTC codes, we can really help the triggering of the maintenance workflows in Whip Around and the DVIRs to make sure that you are keeping your fleet up, running, and on the road. So let's get started with Mary introducing Whip Around.
Thanks, Brian. So as you can see here, Whip Around, our goal is to become your complete fleet maintenance software platform. So we really have two sides to this coin that Whip Around handles in a very effective, efficient way. The first side would be helping to streamline those inspections. About 60% of Whip Around's customers are DOT regulated. So they've got those DOT compliance regulations in place where they have to complete inspections. Then we also have the second side of that coin, which is to help automate the maintenance. Both of these are driving towards that goal of really helping all of our customers enhance the safety as well as improve compliance. Next slide, please. So as we know, there are some issues that are in place with having paper inspections. They're difficult to keep track of. If I complete a pre-trip in the morning, any defects that I record on there, as well as the details of those, it is very difficult to get those back to your fleet managers. Whip Around has an awesome mechanism for passing those over. Our inspections are done on a device. You can do these on either phones or on tablets. About half of our drivers actually end up using their personal devices because the app does not take up a lot of storage. It is massively customizable. So every one of the inspections that is completed, you can go through and have everything from a DOT compliant pre-trip out to an ambulance form, quick trailer trip or quick trailer inspections, as well as accident forms. So all of those are able to be done on the phone, just clicking through. They are incredibly easy. I am our manager of implementations and have done plenty of implementations myself. We can train a driver to do or to learn how to do the inspection side of things, usually in about 15 minutes. And we're talking about drivers that might have been dragged kicking or screaming into the smartphone era. It's incredibly easy to use. The forms, again, fully customizable. You can require photos. So when a driver puts a defect in, it asks them to include some details about what defect they are seeing on the vehicle, as well as taking photos. When they hit submit at the end of that inspection, not only does it geotag their location, it tells you how long it took them to complete their inspection, and any of the photos and comments that they reported on that inspection will trigger over to folks in the office. Our fleet managers, we know a lot of them are not sitting at the computers all day. They're running around with a lot to do. so they can download the Whip Around app on their phone, and then they can also get those notifications on the go. So we make it very seamless to have all the information about your fleet communicated from the drivers, who are that set of eyes out there every day, back to the fleet managers, as well as making sure that you've got all of those required inspections. We've even got reminders in place, so if a driver doesn't complete an inspection, it will trigger a reminder to them, either proactive or reactive. Hey, you didn't get this one done. Or it'll then send a reminder to their folks in the office so that they can reach out and say, hey, don't forget, we haven't seen a pre-trip come through for you just yet. So again, you're really having your drivers involved and acting as an active partner in keeping your fleet up to shape. Let's move to the next slide, please. So I mentioned that we have the ability to set required photos. We talk a lot about customer stories here at Whip Around. Behind me, I'm here in one of our conference rooms. We've got our customer stories about massive successes and big money-saving achievements that our drivers have, or that our customers have seen with this. One of my favorite is related to the dipstick. We had a customer who was using Whip Around, had rolled it out about 8 months prior. They had added in a required photo that in order to checking those DOT required items related to fluid levels, that in addition to that, they also wanted to see a photo of the dipstick for each and every inspection. They went to their OEM because they were having an engine issue, and the OEM said, hey, it appears there wasn't proper maintenance on this. We don't believe that your fluid levels were kept at what they needed to be, or that you were keeping up with the maintenance. We're not going to cover this. It's not under warranty. This customer was able to go back and grab 8 months worth of photos, where every time a driver completed an inspection, they were taking a photo of that dipstick, showing that the oil was in great shape, and then grab their service records. So we have a customer who within the last year saved a $13,000 engine repair just because of asking a driver to take a photo. For the driver, this adds maybe 3 seconds. For any of us who have smartphones, you're probably taking plenty of photos anyway. So it's an easy add-on that really turns into tangible results for our customers, and we continually hear success stories like this. Next slide, please. So that's that one side of the coin, staying compliant, getting your inspections done, pushing over actual defects. The second side of it, though, is really starting to get those maintenance reminders to avoid those defects popping up. Here's the part of it where we really tie into that preventative maintenance. Every time a driver completes an inspection, every time they put in either engine hours, if they've got heavy machinery that they're running, we work with a lot of construction companies, or if we're looking at on the road vehicles where they've got those odometer readings. Every time they complete an inspection, they can take a photo of that odometer. We have AI that will read and translate what's on that odometer into numbers, and it records it. So you set up a one-time service program for each of your vehicles. Hey, I need an oil reminder on this one every 10,000 miles. Every time your driver is completing those required inspections, something they have to do anyway, that's ticking down on that clock and triggering reminders as soon as you get to a certain threshold. So if I've got a 10,000 mile oil change that I want to make sure gets completed for all of my vehicles, Whip Around becomes your partner in sending those reminders saying, hey, here's that 500-mile reminder. Don't forget that you need to get this done. Massively helpful in terms of all of those fleet maintenance items that can get missed, especially for new vehicles. We ask each of our customers to go in and we'll assist during the onboarding and setup process with getting each of those required maintenance exactly as it shows in their OEM's brochures to make sure that they're doing everything that they need. So they're going to be ahead of the game in terms of keeping up with all those items, help keep those drivers out on the road, keep their fleet moving, and really save on all of those preventative maintenance items here. Next slide, please. So we're very excited about Whip Around's digital document wallet. We just say Whip Around Wallet. So this is essentially a digital glove compartment. This allows your fleet managers to upload everything related to the vehicle and then related to the driver, and that driver has that there available and on them. So if you've got updated insurance paperwork, you've got your updated CDL required items, all of those items can be uploaded, documented, so that there's no concern about, oh, hey, I don't have that, I don't have my safety binder, hey, I know we recently got this registration, but it didn't make it into my truck. All of those items are there and digitally stored. Every one of the drivers has access to all the information for the trucks that they are able to access, so their team essentially. And this sets up reminders to help both the drivers know those items that they need to get. Hey, it's time for your physical, as well as pushing back to the fleet managers and letting them know, hey, we need to go ahead and get this paperwork updated across the board. So Wallet really ties in and allows everybody in the organization to communicate about those things that are outside of what is just related to the vehicle, but what are those items that we need to make sure we're keeping all of our drivers up to date and that we're not going to have any compliance issues or any unnecessary fines or concerns about drivers not having their most up-to-date documents. One-time setup, put those items in, set reminders, and everything chugs along in the background doing the work for you. Next slide. So that's kind of the tie-in for Whip Around overall. Like I said, there's that dual-pronged approach, looking at the two sides, getting our inspections done on the front end, having that driver become a really active part of the process. They're the eyes on the road. You're not going to have a fleet manager go out and inspect 30 vehicles every day, but you've got 30 drivers doing that work for you. It really helps the drivers. They're covered for compliance. They've got right there on their Whip Around app their inspection history, which acts essentially as their digital logbook. They've got that digital glove compartment through Whip Around Wallet, and all of these things are tying in to really helping push out preventative maintenance on the back end so that you're able to keep those vehicles out on the road. And again, all of these items we cover during our training session, so we make it very easy to roll this out. We can get most of our customers launched within 30 days of signing up, have their drivers completing inspections, have their service programs out there, and have everything chugging along so they can get back to business. That's it for Whip Around. Over to you, John.
Great, thanks, Mary. Next slide, please. So at Linxup, we like to say we simplify the complicated. And what does that mean? Well, customers tell us that the main reason they buy us is ease of use, ease of learning, ease of installation. We offer plug and play or wire devices for vehicles or equipment, as well as AI cameras, free mobile apps, and we make everything accessible from the homepage, which you can see over there on the laptop or the mobile device, a map. On the left, there's a list of all of the vehicles or pieces of equipment that you're tracking. You can click into any one, it shows up on the map, and then you can then go into particular features. What you're seeing currently is a video, is actually a picture of a vehicle and its location. But why would anyone want any of this? Well, essentially because it saves money, it boosts productivity, it improves customer satisfaction, and it can improve driver safety as well. So next slide. So we offer a complete GPS tracking solution. There are a number of components to it. You can see geofencing. That's certainly handy for tracking time on the site. You can do things like job costing, time card validation, proof of service. You see customer address book. That's a new feature of ours, which allows you to upload all your customers, geofence them automatically, and then track exactly when you arrive at their customer sites over any period of time, when you left, how much time you spent there, and also deliver a visit wrap-up email that combines all of that. Hey, we got here at your site this time, we spent this much time, we left at this time, and if the tech clips a photo or takes a photo, you can attach that to the email. So now you have another proof point, or if nothing else, a touch point with the customer. So it improves customer satisfaction, certainly. You can track real time on the map so that you can see where your vehicles and pieces of equipment are. That's handy when you're in an unfortunate situation where you might have something stolen. You can use it to recover. In addition, you can track maintenance. So maintenance management, whether that's scheduled or unscheduled. We can deliver alerts based on, hey, now it's time to change your oil. Or if your check engine light comes on, we can deliver diagnostic trouble codes so that you can see exactly what's wrong, and as well as your third-party mechanic can see the same. And this is where is particularly helpful if we're delivering location and odometer and scheduled alerts, in combination with what Whip Around offers for DVIRs and maintenance workflows. We can trigger those workflows based on exactly those inputs: location, odometer, diagnostic trouble codes, for example. So now you have a complete solution where essentially we can flag that activity or those upcoming, maintenance events, for example, or unscheduled events, and that, that can flow into the whip around maintenance workflow process and, off to the to the shop, to be addressed, right? So we also provide a route replay, which is, the ability to see trips. We can track on and off schedule idling. You can set thresholds around the idling. Safety scorecard. You can track the safety with which your drivers are conducting themselves. Basically, you can track things like speeding, hard braking, jackrabbit starts, and we can pretty much alert on anything that we track. So any and all of this can be delivered to you in the form of text or emails. So next slide. We have over 30,000 customers, and they're basically using us to solve these problems. Hey, where's my stuff? Okay, we can show it to you on a map. We've talked about theft recovery, monitoring driving behaviors, speeding, hard braking, that sort of thing. With the camera, you can clip videos of all sorts of different, GPS-related events or collisions, for that matter. You can use geofences to validate time cards, because essentially, in addition to whatever the tech is doing or the crew is doing, clocking in and out on an app, we can then marry that up against, this is what the geofence shows when they actually arrived, when they actually left, how much time they spent on site. You can use location to do things like optimized dispatching. So you can send the crew that's closest to a particular customer to that customer to address whatever sort of perhaps last minute or emergency need they have. For example, you can reduce fuel costs by regulating idling. Essentially, you can monitor the idling. When they go past a certain threshold that you set, it sends an alert. You can then reach out and say, hey, shut off the engine. You can also track unauthorized use outside permitted hours. Avoid surprise breakdown. That just refers to tracking the diagnostic trouble codes and minimizing liability. If you're using the driver scorecard, or you're using a camera, you can use those to do things like, coach your drivers more effectively, reduce liability, because if you coach better and they're driving more safely, that reduces the risk of accidents and potentially your insurance premiums as well. So if you go to the next slide, please. Why does any of this matter? Well, essentially because it allows you to save money, reduce labor costs, fuel usage, insurance premiums, accidents, speeding, and that also all obviously is something that can go to your bottom line. So next slide. And if you do click it one more time, this key benefits, reducing downtime is certainly one of the ones that is an important benefit. Recovering stolen vehicles and equipment, as we talked about, reducing wear and tear, by tracking scheduled and unscheduled maintenance. That's certainly a key part of being able to manage your fleet effectively, and certainly, as we've mentioned, in combination with Whip Around, it makes a great solution. Next slide. So, optimizing dispatching, based on driver location, you can take a look at the map. You can see where the driver is, and then you can dispatch that crew or that tech to that to the customer based on their location. You can save on fuel by identifying and reducing route. You can look at routes. You can say, oh, hey, look, you basically could have driven it this way instead of this other way. That way you can reduce fuel spend, as well as by reducing idling. So next slide. So we mentioned coaching drivers based on monitoring their driving habits. Video is particularly useful here, but the safety scorecards in combination with the dash cams can provide insight and frankly help exonerate your drivers if they are not at fault. So if they are at fault, frankly, then you can decide whether you want to fight it or not, settle it, reduce the illegal expense, and move on. But at the end of the day, this is all about creating safer driving behaviors, reducing liability, that we mentioned, to be able to offer another customer touch point, as well as prove service we provide. So that is it for my portion. And I guess now, do we have any questions?
So we had a question come in. Mary, this is for you. They are asking more information about the digital wallet and how they would be able to get to that.
Yes. So digital wallet, we've got the ability for you to load it either from the phone, so a driver can take photos of their own documentation. They can take a photo of their license. They can take a photo of, any of their CDL documentation, physicals, things like that. And then the driver actually has a section right there on the app. So essentially, when you go into the app, to make it as easy as possible, the very first thing that a driver sees is, what vehicle do you want to inspect? However, we also then have a little tab module that they can look and see any of those wallet documents. Again, you'll be able to access those for any of the vehicles that that driver is able to jump into. So if you've got two teams and you've got the folks that are handling your heavy weighted vehicles that have a CDL license, and then you've got those folks that might just be handling some light duties or even something like forklifts. Those drivers can be assigned to two separate teams, and they'll see all of the documentation and all the inspection history for any of those vehicles on their team. So if you have a last minute change up, driver Mary Freelove is out sick today, but driver John is here. John can go ahead and jump in Mary's vehicle with no issues. Make it really easy for you to go back and forth, and then accessing all that stuff is right there available on the app. I think it might just be 2 clicks to get into those. You select the vehicle, be able to see all of those items. And in that same area, you can also then see that inspection history. So if you ever get pulled over, again, having that digital logbook, that's one of the concerns that we get for some folks that might not be very tech savvy. Hey, how am I going to be able to get to this? Are my folks going to know how to do it? Super, super fast and easy. Like I said, easy to train a driver up. Takes maybe less than 15 minutes. And once they know where it is, just a couple of clicks through, and they've got all of that accessible, as well as being able to be triggered on reminders. So they can also kind of do that two-sided help push fleet managers if there's anything that's gone out of date. Great question.
Okay, one for you, John, coming in. With Linxup providing a lot of data, how can that directly correlate to helping them get customers and keeping their customers happy?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of, customer, we talked a little bit about this at the end in terms of customer satisfaction, but essentially you can use the map, for example, to, locate your crews, obviously, and then, send the crew closest to the customer, to that customer. You can then deliver an estimated time of arrival to that customer so that they, have a better experience. It's like an Uber-like experience in terms of tracking, the tech or the crew on the way to the site. And then once they're there, you can track how much time they spend on that site. So, which is important not only from the customer touch point of view, but also just proving service. We do have an example of one customer who essentially received a call from his customer saying, hey, your guys were not on site long enough to complete the service. There's no way that that could have been an effective service. He checked it on, using us. He checked the amount of time that the crew had been on the site. And in the end, he actually agreed with his customer. Like, yeah, they weren't there long enough. And so, that's bad on us. Essentially, we'll complete the service. But that honesty essentially earned him more business from the neighbors of his end user customers. So there are a few examples of ways that people can satisfy their customers, and essentially a lot of the business that a lot of our businesses gain their business through word of mouth. So if you have a good experience with your end user customer, they'll spread the word to their phone friends and family, neighbors, and you can increase your business certainly that way.
Okay, there's a couple more questions, and if we aren't able to get to your question, we will have somebody reach out to you directly to answer any additional questions that we aren't able to get to today. But I do want to make sure that we cover one more thing from Whip Around and Linxup of what is coming in your 2024. What can customers look forward to from, let's go first with Mary with Whip Around and coming in 2024.
So Whip Around is constantly rolling out new areas of the platform. Just within the last 2 weeks, we rolled out the ability to see more related to the work orders and the service schedules on the devices. So making it a lot easier for the mechanics is massively important to us. We understand that the drivers and their portion of things, completing those inspections and getting that fabulous loaded data with comments and photos about the defects, getting that back to the office is important, but the mechanics have a very important side in this as well. Each of those inspections might take 10 to 15 minutes a day, but we're looking at mechanics that are using our software day in, day out, and might have that app open for a couple of hours a day, looking and seeing what items have come in, what needs to be prioritized. So we've got a big focus right now on making it that much easier for the mechanics to use. We see a lot of them using iPads or other tablets. So just making sure that there's a lot of really solid data there, that they've really got a strong communication platform where they can put items in and it be visible to both the folks in the back office as well as alerting drivers to the updates. A lot of the drivers want to know. It really kind of helps make them feel like the time that they're spending doing a great inspection and putting that information in, that it's worth it. Not only am I hitting those compliance items, but if I'm putting this information in, something is being actioned. So really having a lot of communication between all of those folks, the arguably most important people in your organization. Those drivers are the ones that are driving the business every day. So making sure that it works really well for them, as well as keeping the mechanics really up to date. That's been very exciting to see. We rolled out a fuel integration earlier this year. We're integrated now with WEX and working on FleetCor, getting that launched. So if you've got one of the fuel cards owned by one of those, higher up companies, being able to have that fuel information coming in and really starting to see for the first time, being able to see your actual cost per mile on your vehicles. Fuel is a massive cost outside of, your actual truck itself. So wanting to be able to tie those in is really neat to be able to see, gives a lot of reportability on the back end. And then we are also looking at rolling out some additional items related to vendors. So allowing all of those work orders for you to be able to tie in and have more information related to vendors. We've got inventory where you can also then see, hey, from which of my vendors am I getting best prices on these parts? So really a lot of other things where we know that what we've got on the Whip Around side, we always say it's kind of an inch deep or an inch wide, but a mile deep. Now we're really starting to look at and bring in, other partners, bringing items or bring companies like Linxup in and having that information flow over better and make it easier for everybody to manage all together in one place. Looking at more of that all-in-one solution is kind of our goal for 2024.
And John, do you have an answer of anything that's coming from Linxup in 2024?
Yeah, a couple of things, certainly. We've just launched an AI camera. So that's, sort of a big innovation in terms of offering tailgating, cell phone detection, seatbelt use detection, and tampering with the camera, i.e. somebody throwing a hat over it or pointing it to the ceiling. So, the AI camera is newly in the market, and that's certainly generating a lot of interest. Up next is untracked items. That's something that we're in beta now. So within the maintenance module, in addition to tracking, things that we're using GPS to track, you can also track the items that have no GPS attached to them at all, but you know that, hey, this particular piece of equipment that I'm not using GPS to track basically has maintenance due at this date, and you can set a reminder and it will remind you at that date to do the maintenance, and then you can input information about cost and notes and that sort of thing and set another reminder. So tracking, using maintenance to track things that we're tracking with GPS, but also untracked items as well. And then finally, driver ID. This is something that's also in beta, but basically it allows you to identify who is in the vehicle based on a key fob. So the driver can, have a key fob on their belt, keychain, and essentially the GPS device will automatically register who it is that is sitting in front of them. And so without having to input that information either by the driver or by the manager, you can, if you've got drivers that are changing trucks multiple times during the day or during the week, you now know who is driving, and each one very, very easily based on, driver ID and, reading a key fob. So those are a couple of things that are in the future.
Forward. Well, I want to thank everybody who joined us today. If you have any additional questions about Whip Around or want to learn more about Whip Around, please feel free to reach out to Mary Freelove here or go to whiparound.com. And if you have any questions or want to learn more about Linxup, please reach out to John McCammon, or you can go to go.linxup/whiparound. This recording will be sent out to everybody so you can review anything that you need to, and that email will also have links to each of these to Whip Around and Linxup so that you can learn more and reach out. Thank you everybody for joining today.
Thanks, Brianne. Thanks everyone for joining.